I'm so excited that we're all able to gather together in this virtual space to listen to and celebrate Noni Olabisi, our artist in residence at Arts at Blue Roof. In case you're unfamiliar, Arts at Blue Roof is an arts nonprofit that was founded in 2020 by Los Angeles-based artist Galia Lin, and it is housed at Blue Roof Studios, which is a multidisciplinary art hub located in South Los Angeles. We invite artists to work with us in an environment of creativity and community. Through studio residencies, mentorship, and public programs, Arts at Blue Roof seeks to build long-term relationships with artists and audiences to support accessible arts programs and meaningful arts experiences for our community in Council District 9 and the greater Los Angeles community at large. We're very excited. We just started a year ago, and already we've had 2 full-term artists in residence at our space. And we're in the midst of our second artist in residence program featuring Noni Olabisi. Noni is today going to be having a conversation about her work, her practice, her journey, and the beautiful and moving series of paintings that she worked on throughout the residency. And Noni Olabisi is a self-taught artist whose artwork focuses on themes rooted in the history and traditions of the African and African-American experience. It depicts the endurance of spirit maintained by Africans born in America and speaks to the need to continue the perseverance for justice and equality. Her contributions to the legacy of mural art and art in general in Los Angeles spans 30 years and includes being awarded for her contributions to public art, being a recipient of the CCF Individual Artist Fellowship, and having one of her murals featured in a PBS documentary featuring Dr. Henry Louis Gates Jr. Today, Noni will be interviewed by fellow artist and friend, Adrienne DeVine. Adrienne DeVine is a multidisciplinary artist who lives and works in Pasadena, California. She uses a variety of materials and techniques to create abstract, representational, conceptual, and installation art. African culture and African-American history inspire and inform much of her work. In 2020, she was one of six artists on the inaugural panel of the Los Angeles-based platform Conversations About Abstraction, and she was among a select group of makers who participated in the African American Craft Summit, an initiative of the Smithsonian Center for Folklife and Cultural Heritage. Adrienne is a teaching artist, along with maintaining her studio practice and nonprofit consulting business. Private collectors enjoy her paintings, wire sculptures, and one-of-a-kind handmade books, and her photography is in the public art collection of the city of Claremont. She's exhibited her work at the California African American Museum, Roberts Projects, Self-Help Graphics, Art Share LA, Blue Roof Studios, and several other art galleries throughout Greater Los Angeles, as well as in Berlin, Germany. I am beyond delighted to get to share the space with both of these amazing artists and to hear from them as they talk. The format tonight is very casual. I'll be spotlighting Adrienne and Noni, and we'll just get to be here and experience their conversation. At around 7 o'clock, we'll all come back together and there will be time and space for any questions that anyone might have. So without further ado, I invite Noni and Adrienne to begin. And I'm gonna spotlight you both. Great.
All right, how you doing, Noni?
Recording in progress.
Okay. I'm gonna jump right in. For any viewers out there who may not be familiar with Noni's work, she's
recording in progress
as a muralist, and we're going to see some of her other beautiful work that she has installed at Blue Roof Gallery today. A couple of the murals, though, that I want to reference for a couple of reasons are Troubled Island, which can be seen at the William Grant Still Art Center in Los Angeles. There's actually a link in the chat, I think will take you to an image of that. And then also To Protect and Serve. And what I love about those murals, Noni, is they show your mastery of composition. And also just the use of minimal color to create such like vibrant images with just basically red and black and, you know, and white for shades of gray. I wonder, you know, you're self-taught. I wonder at what point in time you kind of really knew that you were an artist, that this is what you wanted to do, and who was your early inspiration? What artists may have been inspired you?
That's a really good question. I really like to start off with saying I always give praise and honor to the Most High God for making me look good, because I really believe that the art comes through you. I might have an idea. It's like we coexist together. I have the idea and then the spirit makes it happen. So I don't want to sound like I'm all of that in a bag of chips, but I'm not. But who inspired me has been, what is that? I can't even think of his name. It's like Elizabeth Catlett, Charles White.
Right,
I
yeah.
I love Rembrandt. I love Van Gogh, and the reason for Rembrandt is because I liked how he did things realistically, and I've always wanted to do Black people in the same frame that he did. Didn't quite make it, but I love the realisticness of it. And then Van Gogh, what I loved about him, I liked his use of thick paint. He could just squeeze a tube or a paint, you know, squirts out, and that's all, that's good enough. So I love that. So along with, I can't think of the Coca-Cola man, I really fell in love with him. That he was a dancer.
Jeffrey,
Him.
yeah,
I love
you're
his
talking
work.
about.
I passionately love his work. So I've been inspired by many people. And then one of the latest,
That was somebody.
one of the latest artists that I really, really love is a brother named Kevin Thompson, which is one of my clients. And he just started off with art, and I mean, amazing. I love him because he comes from here. He comes from here, and it's hard. And because he experienced a lot of family love, you can see it in his work. I just wish he would do more. But anyway, those are my inspirations.
And what about composition? Did you have any like formal training necessarily to come up with? I just love the way you compose these multiple figures. It's so dynamic. It's masterful. Did that just come naturally or through trial and error, or
all of the above? I feel like this. When I was first given a wall by Spark, I had to learn what composition really was. Basically, it's intuitive. You get an idea like one you got, To Protect and Serve. But you get an idea, and you get an idea from the community. Everything works together. You talk to people, you do your research, and then the wall starts to talk to you. Just like the canvases are starting to talk to me. But it's more like there's something greater happening than just me, and it just all comes together. I hope I explained that.
Yeah. It's actually one of the things that we can kind of jump around with it, because one of the things that I was thinking about with your work is how deeply spiritual it is.
Okay.
And everything that you're saying, you know, I work in a similar fashion. I have these bright ideas where I'm going to put something together, and then you get to that point where it takes its own identity. It tells you what it is or it's not going to be.
Exactly.
Yeah, so
Exactly.
the other thing about your work, because I kind of want to jump into your actual process of making. And one of the pieces that, Hannah, actually, if you want to go to 5 years old, this is one of the paintings that's in the exhibition. And what I love about this, along with similarly to the other two murals, is that it's monochromatic.
Mhm.
But at the same time, you create this, your color, they're so vibrant. And so I'm curious about 5 years old. I identify with that in a different kind of way, but I kind of want to know what that painting, how did that come about?
Well, you know what? I don't have many baby pictures of me. And actually, that's a picture of me. Quickly, somebody being passed on to somebody when your mom passed away and you being passed around. But anyway, this lady who kept me actually had this picture taken, if I'm speaking correctly. And
Mhm.
the only picture that I felt like I feel happy and loved. So I wanted to capture the essence of the strength that I saw in this little girl that endured so much. So basically, when you see the yellow dot, like you see the yellow dot on mostly everything that I create, is when the light came to me out of my like sadness, and it made me happy. And I realized that that same light, God force, is within us all, and we can call on it at any given time. And at this particular time, it's been like my savior, or um, something that gives me inspiration and love. So that picture basically is the only picture as a little girl that I felt like I had some happiness and love at one time. So that's the reason why I wanted to recreate that, because as a child, I never really got a chance. And as you see through the exhibit, as a child, I really never had a chance to play. And this here exhibit on becoming is part of allowing the little girl in me to play.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
When did you, that's beautiful, that's so beautiful.
Thank you.
How did you come up with the palette, the blue? Was there any particular reason or feeling behind that?
You know what? Blue for me is kind of a representation of like mother.
Ooh.
Mother, I don't know, it just came to me. I got tired of doing the reds and blacks
Mhm.
and wanted, it just seems like it just happened that the blue came up on my palette and I wanted to explore it. I still want to explore blue. And I think it has a lot to do with like water, nurturing, motherly, all the things that I didn't have, which eventually through this show, I'm starting to get that kind of motherly love from somebody. But anyway, that's later on down the line. But the color just came to me, blue and white. And I just explore it. I allow, when the thought comes to me, I allow myself to explore it.
Mhm.
So,
Hannah, let's take a look at my babies.
haha.
Because that expands the palette a little bit more with the colors. But again, it has that blue ground and then everything else just pops.
Well, everything besides the first piece, well, I worked on the first piece in the studio a little bit, but this is the first piece that came out of the studio, the blue roof, um, yeah, blue roof. And I was I was playing like a little girl would play, splashing the paints and all of that. And all of a sudden, because I have the technique I have is I layer it real thick. And as you begin to layer, I can't pronounce that word, layer it,
You got it.
I started to see an image. I mean, somebody told me, an artist told me years ago, how it works is you get far from it and you'll start seeing something. And that's what I did. I started experimenting with all kinds of colors, and all of a sudden I seen an image, and then I developed that image. I have a long brush, a long paintbrush, and what I did was try to see the image or paint the image, just a sketch of what I was seeing, and this came up. And so this piece is the beginning of me, not only in the studio, but it's the beginning of me seeing art in a way I never seen it before. And it was so interesting because I first did the first baby in the green, and I said, wait a minute, she has enough room for another, there's another baby there. And so as I began to get further back, I explored what I thought I was seeing. And this is what came up. And it reminded me, even though it doesn't look like me, it reminded me of me and my sister being left here without, really family members that we should know. And I it just came to me, my babies. It's as if my mom was saying, my babies.
Wow.
I don't remember my mom. I was too young when she passed.
Mm-hmm.
So just the idea of a mother and then my babies, and I thought of me and my sister. So
Wow.
yeah, really was touching to me because I never did art this way. And really never experienced doing art this way, from the imagination purely to the canvas.
So do you typically sketch your stuff out first?
No, I sketch,
Oh,
on canvas.
on the canvas?
On the canvas. I don't do the paper thing. I
Mm-hmm.
go straight on canvas and let it start developing and telling me what to do. So,
In the case of this one though, you really just started playing with the color?
With this one, I just started playing with the color.
Wow.
First I got the sketch, and then I just started.
Okay.
In my head, I was thinking, Black women don't get really the recognition, skin color Black, really don't get the love and the recognition that they deserve, because they're really jewels, they're really beautiful. And you just, I hear constantly, that Black people just don't get that recognition, skin color Black.
Now that you mention that, those are, jewel tones. Yeah. Hannah, let's take a look at Leap of Faith, because as Noni's talking, I'm hearing her, and sort of based on brief conversations that we've had, really kind of taking a leap of faith to engage in that kind of play. And then I see that yellow dot, if we want to call it a dot, leaping into the sun. Talk about this.
Well, since I've been in that studio, first of all, it was kind of frightening in a sense, because I didn't know what was going to happen. So, because I'm so used to having a photograph, like when I do the murals are only a recording of history being spoken loud on the wall and shown how Black people have been treated in the United States or all around the country. But I use photographs to do that. In these series of painting in the studio, it came from here. And what I wanted to do was to trust. I always knew that there was something in my head that wanted to come out, but I was afraid to let it come out because I was so used to photographs. So this is called Leap of Faith, because I'm leaping into the light, and with all of me, let all of me be visible, because at one time I was not visible. I always wanted to be invisible my whole life because of the horror, that happened to me when I was a child. However, I wanted, since I've been doing a whole lot of work on myself, mental and physical work on myself, I realized there was something else trying to come out of me. And having this space in the studio allowed me to play and to explore. And so a leap of faith is I decided, because it is a choice in life, that I wanted to dive into the light and see what happens. So that's what this is about, is putting all of myself into the light, becoming visible to the world.
Wow, let's look at the light, which I think is to the right of this in the, I hope everyone gets to see these paintings up close and personal.
Now, this is one of my favorites because what kept happening for me was I kept getting, and you have to know that the Blue Roof is a church. So I kept getting this feeling of the Christ story. And
Mm,
and the thing that kept coming up, and this is a sketch, it's a sketch, but Spirit said, leave it alone, don't touch it.
that's right.
Don't go back into it. And that's another thing that I had to experience in the studio, is how to let things go. It's not always about trying to get everything perfect and in detail and da 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 da. But what kept coming up for me was the cross. And I just thought, this is interesting and I'm going to explore it. I'm going to allow myself to explore it. And thus far, I love it. But the hardest thing for me to do was to learn to let it go. And so I like the whole thing about this piece because there's a lot of play in it and there's a lot of layers. So
That's what I'm looking at.
yeah,
I'm
it's a
seeing
lot of
where you
layers.
layered, it's like underpainting and another layer and another layer. Yeah. I'm glad you didn't do anything else to it.
I'm so glad I didn't either. But it was hard. I kept trying to put it back in there to do some more details. And I said, no, learn to listen.
Recording in progress.
Because the beautiful thing about this studio and being a part of this studio was it was teaching me something. I thought I was going in there to be all of that. Come out with something that I thought as an adult that I wanted to do. But it wasn't about that. It was, for me, it wasn't. For me, it was about learning to be free, learning to be loose, play, and free, something that I never had the opportunity to be. I mean, sure, I had fun on the murals, but to be this loose was really a blessing. So that's my Christ.
That same sort of experience, though, you know, where you go in thinking you're going to do you know, I'm going to come out with this fabulous body of work.
Yeah.
And then you get in there and I know for a moment when I had space, I was stuck for a minute. It's like, okay, you got all this space, you have all this resource, and then kind of stuck, but then you just start to play. And I think that's the magic of it, is that you really are able to get out of your comfort zone and be led into something that's going to, you know, eventually elevate your work.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's look at home. This is actually, if we could look at the call and home, I think it might be number 4, Hannah. And I'm thinking about this because I'll say the same thing. Often when I'm making work, it's like I feel like it's a call and response effort. And I'll have, you know, this wonderful idea and intention, but then you get into it and you find that it leads you someplace else. And in this case, 1, I'm loving the color. And 2, just the notion of the call and then home. So can you talk about this?
Yeah, and you know, it was really interesting. I went to the art store to just get some paintbrushes, and I saw these canvases this size, and it called to me. And I thought, okay, that's a challenge because I never did anything that narrow and small.
Is
So
this
I,
12 by 48?
is what?
I said, is this 12 by 48 or
I'm
36?
not
Something
sure
like that?
what's, I'm not sure what size it is because I don't have the size
Mhm.
in front of me. However, I just decided, this whole program is about me exploring not only the paint, my mind, but it's to connect to whatever else the entity, the nature, the energy was calling me to do something, create something. So I brought these two canvases home and wasn't quite sure what I was going to do with them. Never did anything this size and the shape. So what I did was, again, I have a layering process. I mean, anybody who worked with me or saw me work, they know I use a lot of paint, actually pouring paint on, using the roller, maybe 100 layers of paint or more. A paint is on these canvases. And then I take it and then I brush stroke it with more paint. So it's so heavily with paint, and then the magic happens. What do? I get away from the canvas, get far as I can away, and I start seeing the shapes and the symbols and what it wants me to do, what it wants to produce on the canvas. It's not really me saying this is what I want to do. Had no idea this was going to come up. But as I gotten far away from it and I looked at it, it has shapes and symbols. And I kept seeing dancers down here. I kept seeing the dance, and it wasn't dancers, nothing on it, but the strokes of the canvas.
Mhm.
And I said, you know what? Let me get my little long brush, and I started doodling with the shapes, and then I was like, oh, they're dancers. That's what's down there. Then I started seeing the drummers, and then I started seeing the hands. Then I started thinking about the William Grant Stills mural, Troubled Island, and what the Haitians did, what the dancers did before they actually went into war, or I won't say war, was survival mode of
Mhm.
trying not to be into slavery,
Rebellion.
rebel against slavery. And I thought, oh my God, this is like a call and response, because the drummers called and the women did their dance and they had their ceremony, and they feel and I feel it anointed the men and women that were enslaved and captives. They anointed them with the strength to fight to their death to be free. So this is called call because everything is calling on God or the creator or nature to anoint us with the strength to survive or the strength to endure. So that came up and it came out and I just embraced what was coming out. I'm not trying to stop nothing no more. I wanted whatever to come out, come on out.
Mhm.
So, you know, thanks to the Most High God, I give all praises and honor. So then the second piece is called um, Home. And because I don't think that we should forget what happened in slavery.
Yeah.
I think that we still need our reparations and we should always be fighting for it. And I still have a heartbeat for that. Um, and home, again, I started seeing shapes and symbols. The first thing I saw was the man in the front that's kind of lifting something out of the water. And then from there, it just was another. And I thought, wow, this is interesting way to do art. And I used to hear Charles White, or I'll see Carlos Spivey, or I'll see somebody else do art what was fascinating to me about watching artists is that they had a blank canvas like I have, and they would just look at it. I would watch Carlos Spivey just look at a blank sheet of paper, and then all of a sudden it looked like something came to his head, and then he's sketching. And I've always wanted to learn how to do that. How do you do that? Well, I learned and gave myself the space and chose the freedom to be able to express whatever was trying to express through me.
Mm-hmm.
So I still have a heart and love for our ancestors. I still have, and I wanted to do them in a way that was anointing. So it's like we're helping each other, we're coming together and we're helping each other. As many people that jumped the slave ships and drowned. They'd rather have that type of life. I mean, they rather have did that than to be in captivity, be a slave under somebody. And I wanted to capture some of that essence of what I thought as heroic, or maybe that might not be the right word, but it was just loving. It was a loving and touching moment. And it just started coming, and I just started to capture what was coming through me.
Henny, can you go back really quick to the larger picture of that painting, because we can see that what you're describing, we can see that in that painting.
This one?
Yeah, on the right, where, you know, people, it appears anyway that, you know, they might be leaping into the water or they're falling out of the water, but I mean, they're all trying to help each other in there. But at the same time, when I looked at it, I don't even know if it was intuitive, but what I thought about was what you just said about how some people would rather have drowned themselves or taken that sort of a leap rather than stay in slavery.
And keep in mind, this is more the spirit of them.
Mm-hmm.
It's not, it's the spirit of them, and going home to the light, returning to the light. So I don't know, it was fun doing that, and I was learning at the same time. And as you see at the bottom, you see the chains being broken. It's like, you know, they're going on to a better place.
Yeah. Let's look at hope, which I think that's number 98, maybe. It's interesting how the flow of this narrative, you know, when you really start looking at the work, because I know the way you did it, you didn't sit down and say, okay, I'm going to do these paintings and it's going to be this story. But when you look at the whole of it from the beginning to end, it's definitely, it's all intertwined and related.
This one was basically, keep in mind, all of them were basically the same way done, pouring on a lot of paint, rolling it, layers, 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 layers of paint. And then it started talking to you. So it was almost like, for me, a barren earth, but there's always hope as long as you see the light. And if you really pay attention to nature, nature will teach us a whole lot about this journey through life. Because as long as there's life, and everything yields to the sun, everything, in my observation, everything yields to the light. And if you have a plant, if it's any light anywhere, the plant or something will go toward the light. So basically you see there's hope. Even though the land might look like whatever it looks like to you, because what I do like about painting and art, it doesn't have to be the narrative that I give it. It could be whatever you're going through and you give it a title. But for me, at this moment and at that moment, I thought, wow, what are we really doing to the earth? What are we doing to the land? But we still have hope as long as there's light.
How did you feel doing this work? Because this is the most abstract that I've seen of the work that you do. You know, always most familiar with and almost expecting something figurative. And here you really just kind of cut loose and let the paint do what it do.
And that's it. You said it. What else can I say? The beautiful thing, and I have to say it, the beautiful thing is having that studio space. I had like 2 big canvases on the floor. I had them upside the wall. I had paintings everywhere. That studio allowed me to explore in a way that I'm so thankful. I am so thankful. So this is part of just exploring. And I would invite anybody and everybody to go within inside themselves and play. Be that little kid. My grandson told me one time, I had a big canvas up and I really wanted to wear him out because he's full of energy. So I put a big canvas in front of him. I just let him splatter and paint. And you know what he told me? And I watched him splatter and paint. But do you know what he told me? And I'm trying to be Miss Right and do all this proportion and portraits. He looked at me, he said, Granny, that's not painting. That's what he told me. So I said that to say, I had the opportunity to do what he was doing. And sometimes the teacher can be that small. He was only about 6 years old, 6 or 7 years old. And he was teaching me how to play. In fact, some of my greatest lessons have been from the children because I watched them. The greatest thing that I could ever be is a mentor to children. I want to say kids, but I'll say children because they know how to play. And because I didn't know how to play, I was scared to play. And this is my being in that studio allowed me to play. It's like all of what I was learning, I thought I was mentoring them. They were mentoring me. And so a little bit of everything comes into this space, into the studio, and every picture that you'll see thus far, all of that. Again, I want to mention somebody who's been very dear to me. His name is Kevin Thompson. And the reason why he's dear to me is because I couldn't have did this by myself. Meaning, we had to walk up a flight of steps to get these big canvases up there.
Oh yeah, wow.
He did that by himself, trying to make things possible. I want to cry, but he tried to make things possible for me to have the experience. And my son helped him a little bit, but he means so much to me because he also helped for this here project to even be possible. Hanging the show, taking it down, bringing it up, bringing me over. You know, I'm a firm believer. You cannot do nothing by yourself. It takes a team. Everybody who's running this artist in residence, it takes a team. I do nothing by myself, and you better believe I pray and ask for help. You know, the Most High God, Christ, Jesus. I pray to help because I know I can't do it by myself. So all of you, even Hannah, even Lisa, Gallia, everybody that's even in that studio is part of my path to do what I'm doing. It's part of my path, and I don't want to go back. I've had so much fun. I do not want to go back. And I just want to say this last thing about Kevin. I can't say enough about him because he used to call me up and he'll about 6 o'clock in the morning, he'll say things like, go outside and look at the sky. You know, it could be red, orange. And he wasn't even painting at the time, but he's always calling me and seeing these visions. So he echoes in part of me having this experience too, because he would say, do you see that hand? Or do you see that? Da, 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 da. But again, I say, it's all of you all. I don't believe in that I do this thing by myself. It's spirits, it's ancestors, it's the Most High, it's the sun, it's nature, it's grass. Just take a look. I used to have elders, and you tell me everything you ever need is right in front of you. We just don't open our eyes to see it. Okay, I can go on and on.
Well, let's talk about free.
Okay.
Because I think that might be one of the last images we have, but it's kind of remarkable that we're at that point.
Do you happen to have holy as well? I
Or-
definitely want to talk about that as well.
Actually, yeah, holy. I always get those names mixed up too. We do have holy, I believe.
Okay.
I think we do. Yes, there it is. That's what I was thinking about, is this one.
You know what? This piece right here was the hardest piece, I thought. Because I wanted to do more to it than just what I did. And once again, what did Spirit tell me? Leave it alone. Leave it alone. Don't go in it no more. But this piece came from a lady that's very dear to me. Never met her before, but she's blind. And she's got the greatest faith I ever known to man, me. I mean, I never witnessed somebody with so much love and so much power, and they can't see. And just imagine life is in darkness. Well, we talk almost every night.
Recording in progress.
She became my, I want to say, spiritual mom, God mom, something that I never had in life. And what I've learned, and that's why this piece right here means so much to me, is because she has given me so much love every night. 91 years old, mind you. Every night we talk and she shares most beautiful stories. And this is like dedicated to her, as well as other series of work that's coming in her honor for loving me so much and giving me the love I never had, or wanting a mother so bad that you're crying out to everybody else's mother and none of them will do. And then all of a sudden God points you to somebody that is just wonderful, may change my life 360 degrees. I say that to say, because Spirit told me to stop, just stop painting it, and the colors and what's going on. There's so much going on in it that it speaks for itself. It's the beginning of me and her relationship and the love that she has for me.
Recording in progress.
So I said all that to say, I love her. Grace, I love you, Mama Grace.
Well, I remember when we were talking earlier before you finished the work, you were preparing to hang it. Telling me that these pieces that you were calling sketches. And, and in my mind, I had no idea what it looked like, but in my mind, I was thinking, well, hang your sketches. It's part of the process. There's a way to present that work so people see your process. And then I see what you have here. And it's like, like Spirit said, it's done.
It's done. Don't touch it.
And when, when I saw the, like the gallery shot of all the work, I was thinking, well, dang, she must have stayed up all night finishing this stuff. What did she do?
You know what? Grace to me is a fine example of what faith is. And to be able to witness somebody with that kind amount of faith and still love God, and she's blind. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine that? And have that much love in her heart she has 4 children, beautiful children, and to extend her love to me. I mean, it's just, I can't say enough, and I'm really not doing her no justice, but I love that piece.
Mm-hmm.
And again, if you notice, it's blues. What did I say about the blues? It had like a nurturing, a motherly kind of feel to it. But Spirit told me, don't touch it no more, leave it alone. And it was hard for me to do because I want to go in there. And that was another thing, the battle between the adult of me and the kid of me. They were battling in that studio on the adult of me want to do more, the child of me saying, I want to play. So she wins.
Okay, so let's look at the other one. Free. The other blue.
So you have a question, or you just want me to start talking?
You can start talking. I'm looking, I'm looking at everything right now. I'm studying it, so to speak, or absorbing it, not even studying it. I'm
You
just
know,
kind of reading it.
This is fun. And again, I want to put my hands in it again. But you start getting the idea of, and it has something to do about our ancestors, jumping aboard, family, you see youth, you see you just, it's a whole lot going on. And I felt real deep in the water. I felt myself real deep in the water because I was going back and forth from the studio to my house, studio to my apartment, studio to my apartment. And every time I would come into the studio, I take that long brush. I would see things.
I'm gonna have to get a long brush, Noni.
Please get it, please. And get far away from it and just see what you see. And I started seeing these images of people in the water, and I literally started crying because I feel like, we as people, African Americans, Africans, we should never forget what happened to our ancestors. Never forget. And I almost fell in the water with them. Never forget, just never forget. Always keep persevering toward what they've done for us. And they laid the road, they laid the bricks, they laid the foundation for us to keep on fighting for equality and justice. Don't let it die. You use it as a stepping stone, to use it as your strength and your courage to keep going on and liberating the whole world, because really the whole world is, we're more beautiful than we're giving ourselves credit. So it's so much I can say, but I don't want to use up all the time on that. But I did feel a part of the water.
How are we doing on time? Because I do want to ask you, yeah, I think we got enough time, I think. There, with this in particular, when you said it, that you kind of want to put your hands back in it. So I'm wondering a couple of things for you. What's next? And as far as some of the ideas you have about what you may think you have wanted, you wanted to do in additionally to a piece. And I say that because so much of what you say, I'm thinking back to when Willie introduced us, however many years ago that's been. And we don't see each other a lot, but I feel you. There's so much of what you've said that I relate to, that as far as the spirituality and the work, how the work speaks to you, how our process is a little different, but at the same time, I'll paint something and I'm standing there looking at it, and then I start seeing things. And then that's what leads to whatever is next. There have been times when I've done work, and I often take pictures, along the way. I'll take these process shots, and then not heeding what you're saying, I'll keep messing with it. And then I go back and I look at something, I'm like, this was perfect when it was back here. Now I'm over here and I don't like it anymore. So yeah. So I guess what I'm thinking is that is in terms of a process, it's like, okay, I can stop here, and whatever it is that I'm thinking I need to do it on another canvas. It's surely going to change. It's going to do its own thing, but whatever that energy is that's trying to interfere with what's there, put it on another canvas, and just keep it moving like that. And at some point it'll all hopefully make sense. But these last few pieces, they're pretty abstracted. And so I feel like you're really enjoying that process. So how do you think you're going to be moving forward? You have any ideas? Or
I do have an idea. I do have a lot of ideas. I want to do I really want to move toward a series of love.
Mm.
You know, there was a movie I saw called The Shack. I saw it 5 times, and I'm really interested in words. And there was a part in there, and it's always spiritual about God and blah blah blah. But there was a part in there where the man asked God. God was played by Olivia Spencer, which was a Black woman. Uh,
Yeah.
and the guy asked, I encourage everybody to see it. At least it's one of my favorites. I saw it 5 times, but I saw it for the wording. But the guy asked God, which was played by the Black woman, said, "Why did you bring me back to the shack?" She said, "That's where you got stuck."
Mm.
And when she said that, something just messed with me. And I started thinking, I thought I got stuck through the abuse as a child, but that's not where I got stuck. Where I got stuck was not having a mother.
Oh, yeah.
And all y'all who have mothers and treasure your mother, treasure them. Learn from them. Learn everything that you can from them, because we just passing through. We're not here to stay. So when she said that's where you got stuck, I started thinking that's where I got stuck, and I became invisible to the world. I didn't want to live. I didn't want to. I was mad at God. Why did you take my mama? You know, now I'm stuck in this mess. You know, I've been mad for all of these years. I'm 67 years old and been stuck. Didn't find it out until this part of this is the studio, you know, having that space to just splash and do all the things you want to do and never had the chance to do. But I didn't realize I was stuck.
Mm.
I didn't realize that, and that's where the blues are coming from. The blues and the whites and the lights, all of this yellow dots and the sunlight and me diving in, all of it is my life. All of it is where I want to be. All of it is where I'm headed now. Going back to the question, is by me never having a mother and this 91-year-old woman coming into my life. We never met each other.
Mm.
We talk on the phone like we've been meeting, we've been knowing each other for years. But she's given me so much love and so much encouragement and so much God, because you know, them old Christians, they can come with it. they just come with the word, you know, they come with you and keep you in alignment with the word.
Whether you like it or not.
So I got somebody who's always in my behind. You know, she said, "Baby, it ain't me, it's God." But but I mean, I want people to see what she's given me. And I can't wait to see what that is. I don't know what it is, but I know it's dealing with love.
Mm-hmm.
I know that she's got me on the right track, and she keeps me on the right track. And it's just been the most beautiful walk I have ever had in a long time. Don't get me wrong. I love my kids. I love all y'all. I love my grandbaby and all that. But there's something a little twist different with this faith walk. And because she walks that faith walk, I'm able to walk it with her. I wished I was there in Tacoma, Washington with her, because I'd be right under her. What we miss as a generation or people, what's lacking is we don't hold our elders in reverence. We need to learn from them. They're trying to pass something on. They're trying to give you something.
Mm-hmm.
Trust me, I want it all. And especially when you can see them walking it. I'm not just talking about any elder. I'm talking about one that you choose that's walking that walk. Learn from them, listen to them. They got something to pass on to you. So I'm just honestly, when you ask me what you think I would be doing, it's something that related to this journey of, if I had a mother, I would have wanted her to be like this lady.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what it's going to look like or what it's going to come out, because the way I'm living my life now, or the way I'm entertaining art now, is be free with it. Just let it go. Don't try to harness it. You know, just let loose and see what appears, what comes, because I think everything inspires us and encourages us and direct us. We just have to be in tune with it. You know, listen, learn to listen, learn to, you know, just learn to listen, learn to be. Let even the ancestors come back and talk to you, I believe.
Oh yeah.
You know, so I just say open yourself up to receive.
It's tuning out all the other noise that kind of interferes
Yes.
and distracts.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
it can be challenging to say the least.
Yes.
Yeah. This is great. Wow. I can't wait to see whatever it's going to be. And I would love to watch you paint. I don't know. How would that bother you? That's another thing.
I could disappear you real quick.
Yeah.
So you can be in the room. You can be in the room as long as you're working. Don't be over
Oh
my
yeah. Oh no.
Because I'm gonna tell you something about that studio. Even though I didn't really get a chance to because everybody in the studio is to themselves. I did see one artist. Her name is Terry. I can't think of Terry's last name. And she invited me in her studio. I think the greatest feeling is to be in the space of another artist.
Yeah.
So when you say, I would like to be in a room while you creating, or some of the artists that's here, I would like to be among you, because it's something about that energy that's just beautiful. And when they're unafraid to share their talents and the tools that they use and the know-how, you know, that is just the most greatest feeling. And I'm gonna tell you something, I'm having a hard time giving up that studio.
I know.
I'm having a
I
hard
know. That time goes by fast too.
It went by way too fast.
Yeah.
Way too fast, because the energy in that building is beautiful. Everybody's different. But the energy and all of it, I think, works together to putting me together. You know what I mean? Or allowing creativity to just be. It flows through that building. It flows.
I think because it's so intentional there. You know, you can be in other spaces, but when you get into a space where everybody has the same basic intention, they're there to create and to let, you know, it's a different kind of experience as opposed to, you know, sometimes even working at home, because there's other, you know, there's distractions and this and that, or being in some other place where there's other types of activity going on. There's just something about being in community. It reminds me too of what you were saying about teamwork, because I have a friend now, we talk almost every day. It's always about art. You know, I've watched him work, and there's just something about that exchange of ideas and energy that it's like food. You know, it's like food for the soul.
I want to, will you finish? I'm sorry.
No, yeah, go ahead.
I wanted to say something about, there's an organization called, and they don't even know this, but there's an organization called Piece by Piece, and they work in ceramic tiles. I think it's glass. They work in glass. And what they don't know, they given me, it was almost like, because they hired me to be the artist at one of their, they were doing mosaic. I don't think the mosaic is the right glass work. And they hired me as an artist to work side by side with them to do the artwork, but it was color. And you know, and I know, I've done mostly black and white and reds. I didn't tell them I didn't know how to do color, because I needed the job, right? And it's not that I didn't know how to do color. I knew color was in me because I'd done it years ago, but it wasn't something I did on a regular basis. But they gave me the opportunity to work with them in feathers and colors and all that. And the most wonderful and the beautifulest thing happened. And that's when I knew, I mean, I just knew that there was a bigger hand in all of this thing called art, because I always thought I was the artist, because that's what teachers tell you, you're the artist. But as you get older and start exploring, you realize, at least for me, I'm not the artist. It comes through me, because the whole time I was up there acting like I knew what I was doing, I knew, and they sit up there listening, but I kept praying, God, I need you now, because because I need you to work through me to show me how to do this. The only thing that was demanded of me through this whole experience, through this artist in residence, the only thing that's demanded of me is for me to be a good listener and do it. And to do what don't make sense. Sometimes, because some of the colors that I had to act quick, because I had 7 days. I hope y'all listening to this too. I had 7 days to create some feathers and colors that was beyond my imagination. But we did it. I learned to listen to them. They learned to listen to me. I listened to the ether in the sky or the air. I listened to everything that was encouraging me to do it this way or that way. So I just want to shout out to thanks Piece by Piece for giving me an opportunity to do color. And then now I'm doing color. And I almost don't want to turn back. I don't want to turn back from it. It's just a beautiful experience. So I don't know. I can go on and on. Again, and Dominique Moody, all of y'all. I mean, all of y'all, even Naiwili, all of y'all are. It's Beth, if you're listening, all of y'all are part. Valerie, you too. All of y'all are part of who I am. It ain't by myself. It is not done by yourself. And we need each other. And I'd be glad when that COVID thing is over, so we can get back to loving each other, hugging each other, and just being together, because it ain't nothing like it. I don't like all this here distance. Urana, I hear you too. You've been very instrumental in my life as well. So I'm just saying, it's not just me. It's all of y'all too. We're connected. My son, my grandson, my sister, my nephews, we're just connected. All of this makes us who we are, the good, the bad. It's just, I'm just seeing life in a different kind of way, and it's beautiful, and I want to explore it.
I'm enjoying your excitement, because it's getting me kind of hyped. It is. I need that.
I am excited, but that's the beautiful opportunity. And if I sound like I'm advertising for y'all, I'm really not trying to. But that's the beautiful thing that happened to me, being in that space. And also knowing that being in that space, that life happens, because I wasn't always in that space. And I shared that with you in a conversation. Life had me, so I had to come back to this apartment. I took a couple of pieces here because I didn't want to stop the flow, because it looked like my life was falling apart, but there was so much joy, it didn't quite fall apart. You know what I mean? But it all worked together. So life happened. That's all I got to say. Life happened, and I wouldn't trade this journey for nothing.
I was so happy when they announced that you were going to be the artist in residence. I was really happy, and I'm even more thrilled about how you've experienced it, because just in our conversations, it's helped me really, So yeah, I wondered, did anybody else have any people have any questions out there? Because we can go on and chit and chat, but I don't know if there's any questions.
I want to say one more thing for y'all if you have any questions. I didn't say thank you, Beth Peterson and everybody at LA Commons, but I didn't say thank you to Beth because she's so full of projects, and she stopped for me. I needed her. I said, hey, I need somebody to show me how to hang this lion's mask. I don't know what to put on the back of it. She stopped what she was doing and came and helped me. And I'm just saying that's the respect that I have for people. And that's the respect that I have for this journey that is all of us collectively. Okay, I'm sorry, go ahead.
You just reminded me about the lion's mask. How did that come about?
Beth, Beth Peterson, in LA Commons, she had some kind of mentoring program. And I had never, when I first started doing masks, I had never did a mask before. And she showed me the basics. And from then on, I took off. She brings me clay when I need it. She just, it was just hands-on, like you saying, can I look over your shoulder or can I be in the same room? I happened to be in the same room when there wasn't no COVID. And I was watching her, how she did these masks. I was watching how the students did the masks, and I just put my hands in it and started working through it. And I've been loving mask making ever since.
So you have more?
I do. I have about 3 masks here at the house.
Oh, okay.
3 more masks and a lot of clay to continue working at masks. But I love mask making. Yeah.
Awesome.
May I speak? Ancestors, just kidding. Elders.
Who's that? Oh, Sharon, hey. How are you?
I don't have a question, but I just wanted to make a comment that I find that art, if you're an artist, I've noticed, because I used to work at the California African American Museum, and I remember I used to give tours, and I would give tours to children, and I would ask the children, what do you see? And some of the stuff that I never saw, they saw. And I began to fall in love with abstract art. But another thing too is what I've noticed about people in my world that were artists, when they initially started off as an artist, as they began to grow and mature, their art began to grow and mature and evolve. And I wanted to show you this artwork from this young lady. And you guys have probably heard of her. Her name is June. And this is a shirt. When she first started, she did one of a king and a queen. I don't know if you get the whole thing, but it's a king and a queen. But this is the king. And I wear this shirt, I'm sorry. I wear this shirt a lot. And she made this shirt in 1988. And I went to one of her exhibits once. And of course, it looked absolutely nothing like that shirt. It was just beyond detailed. It was so beautiful. And so that's, I don't want to hold any space up, but I just wanted to make that comment that, her work matured, and just like Noni's work began to mature in a different way that allowed you to express your emotions. And it's also, therapy for yourself as well. But congratulations, I enjoyed every moment.
Thank you for coming.
Just wanted to say that thank you so much, Adrienne, for opening us up for questions. And if anyone would like to ask questions in our last 15 minutes, it seems that Beatrice has her hand up. So if you have a question.
Who it is? Noni.
What's up?
It's Rob. This is Rob.
Hey, Rob.
And I would like to just take a few seconds to say that I'm so truly wonderful experience to be able to ask you to reflect on the opportunity that we shared at Watts Towers when I had you to trace your hand in my tablet and gave you the suggestion that it would behoove you to allow the little girl to follow the directions, to use your left hand and to create from your spirit. And it's really wonderful to be able to see that you followed that directive to this point where the little girl has taken over the ego woman. Congratulations to you, to know that you have actually followed the direction, and I have proof of it in my drawing tab.
Oh, wow.
Thank you so much, and that is so true. That is so true. I appreciate you.
Likewise, love you right back.
Oh, you wanted me to talk about something on that?
No, that just wanted to make.
Yeah, because you really pretty much expressed it. You always talk to me every time we encountered somebody, if it was each other, even if it was at the museum, gallery, watchtowers, you would always say, let that little girl.
Let the little girl be in charge.
Remember when you said it's going to be beautiful when the little girl and the adult
Meet together,
Yeah.
exactly.
Don't think
right.
I forgot.
When it becomes the community of the two.
Yes.
Congratulations to you.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
Likewise. Take care now.
All right, you too.
All right.
I see another hand, Noelle Griffin. Would you like to ask a question?
Hi, Noni.
Hey, how are you?
I am wonderful. I am in Detroit, artist in residence
Are you?
at Heidelberg Project. Yes, outdoor installations.
Wow.
So I just had to say thank you for our paths crossing in the barbershop with Manu, who's painting now and in Vegas. And just so wonderful to be on and experience this talk and watch where you're going. So I just want to share something about the merging of the little girl and the woman. Okay. So after my back surgery 5 years ago, my therapist took me through an exercise. She said, put a line down the center of a paper, and she had 4 pens. She said, choose your two favorite colors. I chose green, which is my favorite color since 1977, and pink. She said, pink is your little girl. Green is your woman. Write everything in pink that reminds you of what you've always felt as that little girl. In green, write everything as this adult woman. Mm-hmm. Compare the two lists, and what was on both lists was joy, 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 happiness, just a lot of very common things. Mm-hmm. So I took that list and I went out walking one day on my walker because I just had back surgery. Every time I walked in a certain direction, the adult would say, go to the right, because it was task orientated. It had a plan, go to the bank, go to the pharmacy. That day, I let the little girl speak and she said, go to the left. When I got to the intersection, I turned to the left. It was so easy breezy, wonderful, life affirming, opening up everything I thought I had pressed down. There were no cracks in the sidewalk. The other side had cracks and bumps. My walker always felt like it was going to fly out of my hand. So I'm so glad to hear you say and express what you're expressing about your little girl. It's so powerful. Don't stop. I love you. I appreciate you. I'll be in LA next month for a few weeks. So I got to see you, even if it's through a window. Thank you so much. And thank you to the sister who facilitated also. I appreciate you, and you were a wonderful facilitator. And I can't wait to see your work too. I'm doing great works here in Detroit, wrapping my trees outdoors someday in 16 degrees, 30 degrees, just shape shifting, navigating, saying, this is not cold, this is a chill. And it's a thrill, and I'm going to ride it out. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question, Noni, for you. It's been such a treat for me to be alongside you in this journey in the residency and to see the way you've really been so present with all of the feelings that being in a studio and making this work has brought up. And I've learned so much from that. And I'm curious, I know you've mentioned that you've always really felt like you can communicate with walls, and that's kind of what brought you to mural painting. And now you're trying to find that communication with canvas. And I'm curious what that's been like, how you're feeling, if you feel like you'll continue working on canvas, or painting on other surfaces, or what your relationship to that is now.
I don't want to stop painting on canvas. I'm a little older now with a little health, going through little health issues, and although walls are like the greatest, but canvas is really the surprise. How much I love it, how much I embrace it, because I can always get a gigantic canvas. But I don't never want to, at this point in my life, I don't think I never want to move from where I'm headed, direction I'm headed. I like the play of the little girl. I love all of that. And the canvas thing, because everybody's been asking me, do some canvases, do some canvases. You know, do some canvases. We need something. We can't hang it that big up in the house, you know. So I've been working small and big, and it's been the most, it's like, where have you been all my life? I'm in love with it. So I'm in love with it. I'm pushing that forward. And if a wall happens to come up, I don't really want no big old gigantic walls anymore. Pass that on to the youth. When you got to climb 25 feet up in the sky and all of that. People don't realize really what goes into mural paintings, climbing those scaffolds with your tools and your buckets. I'm a little too old for that now. I think, I mean, I could probably do something 10 feet 11, something like that. But all that gigantic stuff, keep it. I'm into canvas painting and I love it. And I just can't wait to see what comes out next.
Me too. Canvas is more intimate though. I will say that. I painted a couple of the biggest I've gone was 10 feet. And even doing that was, you had to get up on a ladder. It's like you say, once you get a certain scale, you're climbing ladders, you're hauling stuff up there. You got to make sure you don't forget you're on a ladder when you step down. So, some of my favorite work really are small pieces that I've done. Some of my most favorite ones are really small. So I do love your murals though. And people check them out. Her composition is just, even on these pieces, I admire it a lot.
And you speak about composition. I think I've already expressed it, but I just can't say enough that how magically it just happens. In composition, because when you got a window, like in the gallery at the Blue Roof, there was a blue window, looked like glass stain, almost looked like a church window. And I thought it's like the pieces called to that position. It wasn't me doing it, but it's like everything conspires to help you with whatever you want. And I want to say something about you, Hannah. I did about 6 24 by 24 pieces, right? And she came in the studio and she looked and she looked and she looked, and I was watching her as she looked. She said, She said, this one right here looks unfinished. Then she took it and she turned it. She turned it this way. Then she turned it again. And she said, that's it. So I didn't try to go over there while she was still in there. I waited until she left and I was like, what is she talking about? That's it. So I went over there and looked at the picture and I said, damn, that is it. So I said that to say, because I thought the way I had it, it needed more work. But when she kept turning it and she turned it to a place and she just said, that's it, and walked away, right? So I waited until she left. And when I looked at it, I said, that is it. So I said that to say, that's how, pay attention to everything and everybody. Because at that moment, I couldn't stop looking at it the way she turned it. And I thought, that is it. That is it. And I fell in love with it. So thank you, Hannah. So I'm just saying, everybody is part of our process through life. We just pick and choose who we want to be part of our process of life, that are living that process that you want. So, are looking for. But anyway.
Hi, Noni. Can I please jump in and ask you a question?
Yes, definitely.
Sorry, my camera isn't working, so I apologize. This is Pilar Castillo. It's so good to see you. My question is about what your thoughts are on the life of a mural, you know, because the murals are out in public under the sun, slowly deteriorating, and there's, you know, so much money spent on restoring them continually. And I was just wondering, what do you think about, when is it okay to let a mural go? How long do you keep it alive? You know, I just want to get your thoughts on that.
Okay, you know, first of all, Pilar works with Spark. I'm not sure if anybody know who Pilar is. And Spark is responsible for the murals that I have painted. Most of the murals, the 3 that I have painted with Spark, they're responsible for it, and they've been upkeeping it. So my response to, just like the one, the first one I ever did was Freedom Won't Wait, it's deteriorating very badly. And I have to learn to let go. Just like I had to let go of the studio. I have to learn to let go, because there's a lot of forced, beautiful muralists and artists that's coming after me. And they're, you know, they have the right to walls as well. I feel like the hardest thing is letting go of it, but times are changing. And sometimes we have to go with the flow. Although, when I went to Mexico City, I think it was Mexico City, and saw some of the great muralists like Diego Siqueiros and Tamarin, I think I'm pronouncing his name right, and other great muralists. What I like about Mexico is that they preserve their artist work untouched, like they just painted it yesterday or today. It would be nice if there was something like that, even though they were frescoes. It would be nice if they had some kind of preservation for murals. However, if they don't, sometimes you just have to say goodbye. You just have to say goodbye. I don't want it to happen. There's some that people don't realize how hard muralists work on walls, and what really goes into it. And I hope this is not a trick question of yours.
Not at all.
Trying to let me know that one of them or 2 of them are getting ready to disappear.
No, don't even say that.
But I just wish that we as a culture of artists could make preservations, if that's the right word to use, preserve artwork that I think that the community and people love, and think it should still be up, think that it speaks to the people, think that it still fights for the people's rights, right to be, right for freedom, right for justice and equality. Because all murals are they're just not something doodled on the wall, they're messages. You got some of the great muralists here. You got Elena Cervantes. Keep them alive if you can, as much as you can. So I hope I answered your question. If you can keep them alive, keep them alive. But if, a friend of mine once told me, she said, murals have a life of their own. So if it's time for it to do whatever it's going to do, then it's going to do whatever it's going to do. And I had my run. Let somebody else have their run.
And thank you. You had some jewels.
Say that again.
I said you added some jewels to the city with your work, and I just want to thank you for that. You're one of my favorite muralists.
Yes.
You know what? Thank you, and I want to thank you all for that too, for just keeping it up and choosing me as an artist. I really, really respect Spark, love Spark, and very thankful that you allowed me to create whatever is to create through your organization.
Blessings. Thank you, Noni.
Thank you.
We have about 3 or 4 more minutes before our program comes to an end. So if you have any last minute questions or thoughts that you want to share with the group or with Noni, yeah, please unmute yourself and
I do want to thank Noni for choosing me or asking me to participate, to be her, to have this conversation, because it's really been rich.
Mm.
You know, it's been rich, and I admire your work even more, knowing how much energy and spirit goes into it. Yeah, so thank you.
Thank
I
you.
was honored. I'm honored. Seriously, I am. I'm humbled, and I
And so
know.
am I.
Yeah, you know I appreciate you. So. Yeah. And thank you, Hannah, for facilitating the images as well.
my pleasure. Thank you both so much for your presence and your energy tonight. Thank you, Adrienne, for your really thoughtful questions and the attention that you brought to each painting. And thank you, Noni, for bringing these paintings to us and for being so honest and caring and how you brought us into your process. I feel so moved, and I imagine everyone here feels that way too. So yeah, thank you both so very much.